Welcome to the show, everyone. I'm Gigi Flazanes, your host. Thank you for downloading today's episode. Before we get to today's episode, I want to remind you that you have 2 days, 48 hours left to enter the swag bag contest. There will be 5 winners that will be announced on Friday, May 1st, in the 30-Day Manifestation Challenge group. If you are not part of that group, you will still get an email asking for your mailing address so we can ship you the box with your swag bag in it. And if you haven't had a chance to check out the page yet, please go to gigiflazanes.com/swag bag. Let me tell you about the products that are in there that I know you're going to love. Energy Bits. If you heard the show on Energy Bits, you're going to get several bags of them to sample and try for many days. You're going to get Cold Be Gone. And who doesn't need that right now, just to make sure you're extra protected in the world? Black seed extract oil from Zatique. It is a super high antioxidant oil that can be put in smoothies or in water or taken by itself. You're going to get Just Thrive probiotics. There's many different products and they will rotate among the bags, but you'll all get a sample of the Just Thrive probiotic, which also the owner of that company will be on the show in the next couple of weeks. The Good Idea Company, we had Bjorn on a long time ago, and this drink is calorie-free. It contains chromium, and it helps you reduce the amount of insulin your body produces, and it actually helps to metabolize the insulin when you eat carbohydrates and sugar. It's a great drink to have on hand, especially if you're diabetic, and of course if we're eating too many carbohydrates, so that you're going to get a can of the Good Idea. You're going to get a sample of the CBD fountain lotion as well as a lip balm. You're going to get water drops, which are flavored water drops by the company Sweet Leaf, and it is stevia, and there are many different flavors. You're going to get a sample of lavender oil from Young Living. You're going to get a bag of paleo or keto pancake mix from Birch Benders. You're going to get a sample of the Kion amino acids. You're going to get 3 months in my Inner Circle membership. You're going to get a Monk Pack Keto Nut and Seed Bar. It's chocolate and nuts. They taste amazing. You're going to get a Monk Pack Protein Cookie packet. You're going to get a Good Fat bar, which is very keto. You're going to get a Earthing magazine from Merrill Hemingway. You're going to get Healing Crystal Rocket Immunity Roll-On to help put that in your purse, your bag, your car. So when you're out in the world and you don't have a hand wipe and you're a little concerned, you can put this on your hands and rub it together. It's also going to help you keep your hands moist instead of using all that drying stuff out there that's going to crack your skin. You're going to get Color Street sample for some nails. So for the women in your life or for you ladies, you can try the Color Street brand. And you're going to get elderberry. You're going to get an elderberry product from Nature's Sorcery. I'm looking forward to trying that. It's delicious. And again, it's an antioxidant boost and helps with immunity. Make sure to enter the contest to be one of the 5 winners for the swag bag. gigiflazanes.com/swag bag. Okay, so make sure you take care of that. So today we're going to talk about taking a leap of faith. I was inspired by one of my clients, Alejandra, when she attended Releasing What Weighs You Down this January, and she joined the Inner Circle Mastermind. She had about 6 months to go with her corporate job, and you'll hear about it in the interview, but she decided to take the leap of faith and trust her gut and her intuition, and it's been amazing to watch her business unfold naturally, organically, perfectly in alignment with law of attraction, and she's been open and practicing her ability to receive. I'm sharing this show with you today, and I wanted to interview her because I wanted to inspire you to remember that a lot of what we talk about on the show when it comes to law of attraction is about taking a leap of faith, about trusting in a deeper way that you can't prove, that doesn't have a safety net, and that's the whole point of trust and faith. Alejandra is a DONA International trained doula and professional birth photographer. She is a calm, supportive, reassuring presence who sees her role as more than just someone who assists in birth, but instead as part of the birthing team, helping each woman transition into motherhood. Welcome to the show, Alejandra.
Hi, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Well, this is exciting. You're the first Inner Circle Mastermind member that I'm having on the show. And we're a little premature in our year-long process here because it hasn't been quite that long yet. In fact, you just joined in January. It's only been 2 months. But what I
Yes.
really loved about your story and what I love that's going on for you is that trust, that leap of faith, that momentum that is happening for you, that is something that's intangible. People, when they hear about taking a risk in business or in life or in love, and for a lot of people who want to see like a business plan, they want to see the path, they want to see how it's logically going to make sense. And there are steps on everyone's path where there is no path, where you have to go with a gut check. You have to go with a feeling and a desire, and if you will, that law of attraction visualization that pulls you into a space that's literally about trust that has no proof. And I think your story so far in the 2 months we've been working together is really illustrating that trust and what happens when you take that leap. But before we get into the story, I just want to give the listeners a little bit of understanding of who you are in relationship to me and my show. How did you find me, and what show did you find me on, and why did you search out a show that had content I had on it?
Yeah, so I actually found your show after a series of chiropractic adjustments that I was getting done at the time. I was going through some stuff, and my chiropractor was doing NET. I don't know if you know what that is, but it's basically like some emotional release. And I wanted to know a little bit more about that, and then a little bit more about just like holistic, like kind of approaching health like holistically. And I don't know what I Googled or searched in Spotify or what the keywords were, but I came to you through alternative medicine and I don't even know what it's called because I've completely switched over to spirit, purpose, and energy. But I came to you through that one, and I listened and loved the content for a few months, and then I think you had plugged it a couple of times, and so I wanted to check out spirit, purpose, and energy, and did, and I was pretty hooked. It was about a year ago, so I could binge listen, which was nice, not having to wait for another episode. I just kind of like ran through them all, and I just loved the content. It really spoke to me. So I kind of went from, coming at it from the homeopathy and stuff like that, and then law of attraction, which I had never actually heard about before, and yeah, so I kind of switched over.
Okay, several questions. First, yes, I know about NET. The chiropractor
Hmm.
I work with does NET, and it's probably in my future to do NET. And I'll definitely talk about NET on the show when I find someone who wants to talk about NET on the show. I mean, it's basically muscle testing,
Yes.
and but more specifically about NET. So yes, I know about that. That's cool. I know you came through nutrition and alternative medicine, and I remember,
Yes.
I think before we met at Releasing What Weighs You Down in 2020, you had sent me a screenshot or had posted somewhere that your Spotify account had basically said you listened to more hours of my show than any
Yeah.
other audio or something, which was really very cool for me to see. And I asked you to send me all those graphics, and I was like, well, this is awesome. So
Yeah.
it had only really been a year that and I only say year, sorry, because I know I have some listeners that have been listening for a long time. So you, I know, took the plunge and said, okay, I'm going to go to Releasing What Weighs You Down. How long before, how long before you made that decision had you been listening?
I'd probably been listening to it for like 6 or 8 months. I had the reason that I decided, I actually was probably one of the very first people to sign up. I think I signed up in like September, October. You didn't even really have a link for it yet. I remember emailing you about it, and you were like, "It's coming. Calm down." So because I had a aha moment, and I don't remember what podcast it was. I wish that I could, but you were talking about manifesting something because of something that you don't want, and it was this very big aha moment of I've been laid off of like almost every job that I've had as a project manager, and then I go and I get another project management job, and then I get laid off, and it was just like this slap in the face of like, oh my gosh, I'm doing this to myself. And it was such a huge moment for me that I was like, I knew I needed to get more of it because it was such a real kind of life-changing realization for me. So that was why I kind of was like, oh, I need to sign up before I change my mind.
Well, good for you. Yes, you were probably the first person to sign up. I do remember that email exchange, and that was really exciting for me also, since we had done the event 2 other times and it was going to be the last one. And I remember, yeah, I was a little bit slow roll and I forget what was going on at the time. Okay. So now we have that you've been listening for about 6 to 8 months. You have something in your life that you see that is a pattern and you see your position in it. I'm quite shocked to hear that you'd never heard of law of attraction prior to my show.
Yeah, no, I mean, I've heard of The Secret, but I didn't really, like, I knew it was kind of woo-woo, and I kind of am anyways, although I'm definitely getting more woo the older I get, but I just never dug into it. Yeah, I don't know how I hadn't heard of it, especially now because I'm so like, oh my God, it makes perfect sense. But yeah, it wasn't really part of my awareness.
So one of the bonuses that I gave for people that signed up for January's event was to also have a one-on-one session with me prior to the event. And so Alejandra and I had that session. I'm going to say it was probably November or December that we had that session. And I was
Yep.
right in the midst
Hmm.
of the enrolling for the Inner Circle Mastermind. And one of your goals, I think that you even put on your sheet, had something to do with transitioning yourself into your own business. And so I said, well,
Hmm.
have you considered the mastermind? And you said, oh yeah, I'm going to join. And I thought, oh, okay. And that was December. And then I
Hmm.
didn't hear from you. And then I didn't hear from you. And then I saw you at the event and you're like, oh yeah, no, I can't join until like May. And it was not a, you can join any time kind of group. It's a, we're closing in January because it's a year
Right.
long program. And I know you weren't ready yet to be a full-time entrepreneur, and you were conflicted about, again, taking that leap. Like, is it too soon? Can I afford it? All that good stuff. And so by
Hmm.
the end of Releasing What Weighs You Down in January, you decided to take the leap. And so I just want to share with listeners, as well as, I never have asked you this, I want to know, a little bit more about the thought process, the feeling process, what had happened for you, what solidified that decision for you in that moment, because you weren't ready. Listen up,
No.
people. This is why we're doing this show, because she wasn't ready. She was literally like, I'm not ready. And she's a Capricorn.
Yeah.
So she was like logically telling herself, nope, it's not the right time. Nope, it's not the right time. I'm not ready. I will do this when I'm ready in 6 months, which, of that course, you were not going to be able to do that. So what made you
Right.
switch?
It was sort of I guess, kind of compounding things throughout that weekend. I started it with not really knowing what I was getting myself into. I know, like, I'm a big fan of the show, but I also was like, I don't know if I've like fully drank the Kool-Aid yet. And so I really wasn't sure what I was going to be getting out of that weekend. And then we had a series of different, all the exercises that you do, and like talking through things and kind of opening up about different aspects of who you are. Even the whole Capricorn thing was a big one for me. You talked about, you had said something like, I can always tell the Capricorn in the room because they're the ones that, what did you say? It was like, are always telling you the reasons why not.
Defending their
And it was
limitations.
just,
Capricorns
yes,
defend their limitations
yes. And I
more
was
than
like,
anyone.
well, and I just felt like you were like calling me out. Like, I was like, oh my God, this is exactly what I do. And I can give you really exceptional reasons why something won't work. They're super logical. And it like made me look at myself and go, oh my God, is that what you're doing to yourself right now with all these things that you want to do and you're not doing them? It's not, like, it was sort of one of those like, oh my gosh. And so then, just as the weekend went through, sort of seeing myself from all these different angles, it just felt like, I don't know, like I was very trusting of just, I'm here, there's a reason I'm here, and there's a reason I'm like getting all these ahas and these like clicks. And it just felt like I don't want to let that momentum go. There was so much between you and Lisa and talking to all the other people that I felt like I could just feel that this was, like, I don't know what this path is going to look like for me, but like it was slowly, like, as I take a step, a couple more steps open up in front of me. And it was just felt like that's what was happening. And so I remember I was like, give me the piece of paper, let me sign it, take it away from me before I change my mind. And my Capricorn part comes back. But it was very much just to like, this feels right. It just felt really good. And I didn't have buyer's remorse, which I think was a really good sign afterwards too. Because a lot of times you're like, this is going to be great. And then you kind of sign up and you're like, what did I do? And I never felt that. I was very like, I just felt like I could breathe a little bit lighter going like, I'm doing this for me and I know it's right. And it felt really
That's nice to hear
good.
that you didn't have any buyer's remorse, but again, it wasn't that you didn't buy a specific thing. You were doing, like you said, you were doing something for yourself. And,
Right.
my guarantee in the group, and I don't know that it'll be a guarantee moving forward next year and in years beyond, but the guarantee was that you'd make it back. And that because it's such a small investment in the grand scheme of things, if you can't make that much money at your business in 1 year, we have a problem all
Right.
around. Right. But for you, you knew that it was time to invest in a dream that you had, confirmations you kept getting about your place in the world, your gifts, your talents, and the way that you wanted to serve. So let's go back and give a little backstory now about what you've been doing, about where you live and your kind of your career path. And you can condense it, like what you went to school with and what you've been doing recently and what you've been excelling at and making money at now.
I currently live just kind of outside of Austin, but I went to school, University of Kansas, for graphic design, which was very much a reaction to, I grew up, I was a very big nerd, very big into math and science, and both my parents are accountants. And I think I kind of rebelled against that because I knew that's what I was good at. So I was like, I'll go to college and do art. So I did graphic design, and about halfway through, I was like, what am I doing? And so, but I stuck with it. And then I got out into the field and I did like flash animation and graphic design and all of that kind of stuff. And then I kind of knew that that wasn't the right thing for me. So I tried to embrace that mathy part of myself more, the organization part more, and went into project management. So I've been in the advertising agency world since I graduated. And but so I'm on the project management side, and I've been doing that for, I don't know, over 10 years. And I've kind of just hopped from one agency to another and been really like, the longer I'm at it, the more unhappy I am. Like, I don't really like, I'm helping my clients make banner ads. It's just not something that fulfills me. I don't find any enjoyment in it really. And I was just getting more and more unhappy. And my version of unhappy really looked like angry in my personal life. And I was just kind of there. And I was just knew that it wasn't what I was supposed to be doing. And it was around that time I had taken some courses, and I went to school for massage therapy as well, as sort of like a, I don't know, random thing to do. And I just started realizing that that's like my draw was more towards something in the healing space. And then I was in the middle of switching jobs when I had that aha moment that I was talking about. Having listened to your podcast, I was going from one agency to another and not looking forward to it at all, and was just sort of sick of it. Like, I don't like what this is doing to me. I don't like this is doing to my family, my marriage, any of it. And I knew it needed to change. And so a week from today actually is my last day in the corporate world. I put in my notice, and I became a doula last year. I do that on the side, and I'm I'm going to go out on my own and do that full time, as well as some other like healing modalities. And I'm completely stepping away from everything that I've done for the past, I don't know, 15 years. And I'm going to see what happens.
Well, let's back up, because your concern was, I don't think I can quit until I think May or June was your original time frame, financially. And
right.
And it was about, how do I get clients and how do I tell people about it, and there were like a lot of signs. So you'd made the commitment. It's now end of January. We have our first group meeting, and we talk about, what your trajectory looks like, what your planning looks like. And then all of a sudden things started to happen. And I want to outline some of those things that happened that led you to change your, I'm going to leave in May or June, to I can leave in March. Also just the signs. Let's talk about all the different signs that you got. Start with mid-January after you signed up, and some of the fears that you had about not doing the mastermind, but fears you had about what you were going to be stepping into and some of the signs that came to you that let you know you're on the right track?
Yeah, so I signed up for the mastermind without like I didn't tell my husband about it until I got back, and he was just so supportive. And right around that same time, he was thinking about he wasn't very happy at his job for completely separate reasons. And so what we were talking about was, okay, well, you know, you need to make a certain amount of money in order for me to let go of my corporate income, and we didn't know when that would be or what that was going to look like. And he he and I talked about it for a long time. And then a company reached out to him and offered him a job. And it ended up being he and I talked through what do we need in order for this to work if I'm going to let go of my job. You know, kind of we made some lists together, and they offered him the exact dollar amount that we had said that we would need. And so it was, I think we both had a moment of like, this isn't really happening. Is it like, I don't know how, like, how is this happening? And so like that happened. And then I, I'm part of a like doula group. It's a nonprofit organization, and two of the head people at the nonprofit have left, and they've asked me to take on several more clients. And it was needed right around the time I was already thinking about like quitting my job. And so it was sort of like all of these things were starting to go into place. Like he got the income he needed, and then I was being asked to take on more clients without even really looking for them. Like they were just kind of handed to me. And it was like, okay, well, I'm going to keep going forward. It was like I said, it was just like every step I took, another like kind of two steps in front of me kind of just appeared for me out of nowhere. And I was like, all right, I'm just going to keep following this path. And so he's got a new job and he's loving it. And I put in my notice, and I made a goal of wanting 4 clients per month, 4 birth clients per month. And I have 3 for March. I already have 3 for April, 2 for May, 2 for June. And, you know, we're pretty far out from there. So I'm just like, I'm hitting these goals, and it's just really easy. There's a class I wanted to take that for craniosacral therapy, which is another modality I want to do. And they didn't have any openings. And then all of a sudden an opening opened up like really near to me, so I wouldn't have to travel. And so just all of these things started happening. And it felt easy. It wasn't hard. And that's like it just felt right and easy, and just follow it and just keep going and just keep trusting that the next thing, even if I don't know what the next thing is going to be, it's going to kind of make itself known to me when it's the right time. And that's kind of how I've been just sort of like walking through since January, and it's all kind of working out in this like very amazing, like not magical, because like I'm manifesting all these things that I want, but it also feels like magic. But yeah, so.
And prior to this, did life look like this?
Oh God, no. This time last year, my husband and I were talking about getting a divorce. I mean, we were not in a good place. I was really unhappy. Yeah, no, not at all. And it was just, we moved to Austin, and I wasn't, I got another job at another agency, because that's what I do, because that's how I knew to make money. It was all I was like, well, I'm already doing this and money's good, so why don't I just get another job? And it just, like I said, like me unhappy is just like kind of an ugly person. And so it was just not good. And our family was just sort of trying to figure out like, what are we going to do? And, I'm thankfully have an incredibly supportive husband. It was like, why don't you just quit? I mean, he's been telling me for a year, why don't you just quit? Why don't you just do this? This is what you want to do. But, I look at it I have looked at it from like that, well, daycare costs a certain amount of money, and then we're going to need this, and then there are bills. And, from a very like, quote unquote, logical standpoint, I am a Capricorn, that I kept fighting against it, even though everything was sort of like, go do this thing. And I finally just kind of like succumbed to like, okay, what if I did what I want to do? What would that look like? And it's actually pretty fantastic.
So you're in my astrology course too. Tell me what your moon is.
I am a Capricorn sun, Leo moon with Gemini rising.
Okay. All right. Well, that's balanced enough that your Leo moon is helping that Capricorn, right? Because the Leo moon is not going to let the Capricorn logic hold it back from being center stage and from doing what you want to do. So that's good news for you.
Yeah.
So it pushed through.
It did.
in order for you to make this decision. And the Gemini just wants to have fun. So the Gemini rising part of you wants to have, and we're not quite on the air week yet. That's next week. But the air is really all about, and especially Geminis, having a good time, having fun, being a jokester. And so that's also driving you because you weren't having fun where you
No.
were before. And now you are having maybe not fun. I mean, it probably is fun, but it's also very rewarding, and it's so much more of a deeper connection to what it is you're doing and who you're being in the world, right?
Yeah, no, it's all of the above. It's been incredibly rewarding. The doula work is what I'm doing right now, focusing on, and um, it's just been sort of very affirming that this is the work that I'm supposed to be doing. You know, it can be hard, obviously, to switch careers and then kind of like, is this the right thing to do? And I've been getting really great feedback from my mentors and the other doulas that I work with, and then my clients. And yeah, it's been pretty amazing. I'm not gonna lie. I've been so happy. It's funny. I came home the other night and I was telling my husband about all these different things with different clients and hospitals and like whatever. This was all before the COVID-19 stuff. And he was laughing at me. And I asked him, I was like, what are you laughing at? And he was like, you used to come home and just vent. And you were just so unhappy. And he was like, and now you come home and you just celebrate your wins. And he was like, it's so different. And he was just really happy to see me happy. And so it was a funny moment of me just being like, wow, it really is like a complete change of even just lifestyle, of just not coming home and, oh, this happened today and this happened, just without thinking. I go straight into like, oh my God, and this, and it's just, there's an excitement and a positivity to our nighttime, stories that we tell each other after our days. So
I love that. And, people that are listening, there are a lot of not happy people out there, even though they're still listening to my shows and they're wanting to, and maybe they're happier than they were, but they're stuck in a job that they don't like. And maybe they want that encouragement. Like what would you tell people that you do now that's different? So is there anything, because you're in a different kind of receiving mode, and I don't know if it's just we changed momentum, whereas before you were at, let's just say, a negative momentum, not that the snowball was getting bigger down the hill, but maybe just the fact that you didn't like your job and it just kind of kept going. And now with taking this chance, with deciding that I'm going to do this, even though I'm not quote unquote ready, I don't think I'm ready, but I'm ready emotionally to feel better, to have hope, and to plan for my future in a different way. That change of the tides, if you will, that momentum building exercise has taken on such a shape and a form. Is there anything else that you're doing in life daily or weekly to practice being in that highest level of receiving mode to keep it going?
I think the biggest thing, and it's something that I won't lie, I do struggle with sometimes, but I'm trying to do, is that I really noticed, so I have a lot of friends. So I moved here a year ago and I haven't met that many people. So a lot of my friends are still in Kansas City or wherever they live. And we send like Marco Polos to each other, like little videos. And they used to be really, again, about like, oh, this happened and this happened. And I really noticed after like being at your event, the way like what I was talking about, because there was so much focus when we were talking, and in your podcast you talk about like whatever you're focused on is what you're going to get. And I realized I was really focused on sharing how miserable I was, and I never really talked about the things that were going well, even though there were things going well. I didn't talk about them because I don't think I even recognized them. And so one thing I've been making a really concerted effort to do is reach out to my friends and celebrate my wins with them. And it can feel very braggadocious at times. Like I often have to start like I don't have to, but I often start the Marco Polo, like, I know this is going to sound braggy, but I just really want to like share what's going so well and, talk through it. And then what's been happening is that they respond and they're always saying like, oh my gosh, it's not braggy at all. That's so fantastic. And they're so happy. And then it prompts them to share those like wins that they have. And we're just sort of like, cyber high-fiving each other. And it's really different. And it can feel, like I said, it can feel a little braggy sometimes. And I'm trying to get over that. I struggle with that a little bit, but I do still, I think even today in our mastermind group, I like posted something. And I was like, oh my God, they're probably so sick of me posting this stuff. But I was like, I'm going to do it anyway. Cause I really want to share like these things are going well for me. And I don't want to And I want to keep that being the momentum that I have. So I think that's like probably the biggest thing. All those exercises and stuff that we've done together in groups and on the podcast, I've started tapping and stuff like that, definitely helps. But I think for me, the biggest thing is that focus on sharing the wins, because it's such a difference from what I was doing before.
So let me give you a little perspective, pivoting change here on this bragging thing. Somewhere someone told you needed to be modest, and it's probably because your moon is in Leo. My guess is, as a child, that you were very bright and you were too bright for others, and it activated within them either fear for you of you being rejected, or it activated within them a lack of them not feeling so bright. So somehow, somewhere, you have attached being bright and shiny as being somehow not modest, somehow not genuine, authentic, or there's like, you're not allowed to be that. And I know we talked a little bit about that at Releasing What Weighs You Down, but that is also, I want you to connect that to your temperature and so when people join the mastermind, they automatically get a year, the same year they're in the mastermind, they get a year in the Inner Circle membership. And one of the benefits of the Inner Circle membership, which is $9.99 a month, is that you get a separate podcast. And one of the books that I spent 9, 10, 11, and 12, 4 episodes on was The Big Leap. And it's a book that I recommended the entire mastermind group read, which I believe everybody has. We haven't really worked with it yet. And I did interview Gay Hendricks on the show, and that'll be coming very quickly if it hasn't already. And we spent a lot of time on The Big Leap. And what I love about The Big Leap is that it gives structure, a little bit more structure, to the idea of law of attraction and our temperature, our ability to receive at a certain level. And we all understand that expansion, when we want to expand, we have to expand to get what you want, you have to expand to a new level you haven't been to before. And one of the upper limits, as Gay Hendricks calls it, upper limiting ourselves to that next level of expansion. And he doesn't talk about law of attraction. That's me combining the two. Is worry, is fear, is worrying about, leaving people behind and not, and turning people off, or not being able to, shame. And there's many things that we'll talk about both in the interview with Gay Hendricks. And then if you join the Inner Circle membership, you'll get to hear those podcasts. So what I'm telling you is that this whole, you have not been comfortable spreading your wings. And so anytime, just like a baby bird, right, that comes like after the baby bird starts to stand up, there's this sort of time frame, and it may be very quickly because the bird's going to eventually need to fly, but there's this time frame where you're just stretching out a little bit, and you stretch out a little bit more, and you stretch out a little bit more, and each time you're sort of massaging through the process. But you don't just, a baby bird doesn't get up and just stretch out its wings and start flying. There's a little bit of a process, and so you're just in that process of changing the temperature on how much love, success, and abundance you're able to experience. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that does.
So, and I do understand though, because when you have friends that you pivot with and all of a sudden you went from complaining to sharing your wins, there's a little bit of fear of that they'll reject you or leave you behind or judge you or not understand because you've literally made a 180. I want to encourage you in our mastermind group. A lot of the people who are in it, not everybody, but many of them have been to my manifestation boot camp, which we had last October. And we did what you're doing. It's called the Rampage of Appreciation. We did rampages of appreciation out loud to each other. And I encouraged everybody to continue doing it when we left by calling each other. And so I don't know that if you know that, but you're welcome to call anyone who's in the group who has been to that event, who understands. And again, there's a whole bunch of them, and they would welcome, they would applaud, they feed off of your rampage of appreciation because it reminds them to do theirs, and it reminds them to focus on what they want and what they're creating, and to have conversation and energy around noticing those subtle or not so subtle things that are happening that are working out for them. Everything's always working out for you. Nothing is ever working against you, even if it looks like it is, but acknowledging at least the things that you can see right now so that we can expand ourselves to see even more of what might not be available in your peripheral vision right now. But once we train your brain to see them differently by doing these rampages of appreciation, you will experience even more and more and more and more. And so I don't know if you knew that, but
I didn't.
okay. So yeah, we did Rampage of Appreciation, and there's actually a few people in the Inner Circle membership who were also at the boot camp, who also would be glad and happy probably to have another partner to do some Rampage of Appreciation with. So that is what you are doing. That is what it's called in law of attraction terms.
Okay.
And just know you're clicking into creating, again, that positive momentum in a frequency that allows you to attract more love, success, and abundance than you're used to. And the longer you stay there, you train yourself to be there and be comfortable in that, which means then you get more. And then when you're ready for your next level, you expand a little bit more and you see where your upper limits are and you notice them and you pivot and you go back into spreading your wings out a little further so that you can receive that next level of love, success, and abundance and connection. Make sense?
It does. No, I love that. I did not know that. I will definitely ask them about that.
So people that are listening to this, I want to get your advice or feedback, Alejandra, because again, we're 2 months into the mastermind for you. And although your momentum has been palpable, it's so amazing. And I encourage you to keep sharing, share more, because you inspire others to also want to recognize and share and focus on the things that are happening for them that they're not sharing. So thank you for being that light. We do need it. But if you were to give someone some advice who's listening, who is sitting where you were over a year ago, unhappy in their job, complaining every night, getting in fights with their husband or wife or children or partner, and knowing full well that it's what they're doing in life, but they're not really sure what they want to do. They're not completely confident. They think they need a plan. They think they need a business plan. They think they need a lot of things in place. What would you tell them? How would you encourage them to move forward?
I had no plan. So I think being able to let go of feeling like you need to know the answer, it instead of focusing on where you're going, kind of figuring out like how to get there. I don't know if that's necessarily the right analogy, but basically looking at everything from what's going to be happening. I want this to happen and it's 10 years down the road. And instead thinking about like, what can you do right now that will help take steps to get there? Because I think for me, what I was doing like a year ago was thinking about how everything had to be so different and everything had to change. And I didn't know how I was going to do any of it. And so that meant I couldn't do anything. It was like either all or nothing. And what I realized was just, if I could just take a couple steps towards what I wanted, just whatever I could do, and then take a couple more steps and then take a couple more steps, that was enough to get me to shift that, like you said, like that snowball of sort of like negativity that I was in, and I was able to sort of like curb it and roll it a different direction. Instead of trying to like pick it up and throw it, I was just like, we're just going to go a little bit this way now. And so in letting go of feeling like you have to have the answer all the time, because that's a lot of pressure that you just like put on yourself. And so if you can kind of trust that, like if you just can figure out something that would make you feel a little bit better and move towards that in the steps that you can, instead of feeling like you have to make all of the changes all at the same time, that's probably the biggest thing for me. Because then you can a little bit of trust and then you get a little bit more and then a little bit more, and so it can be scary, but if you can just do the things that you can do, it makes a difference. And it doesn't feel like it will at times, like, oh, I'm just doing this one thing, how much difference can this really make? But it actually, it's a compounding effect, and so if you can step out of it just long enough to do something that's a little bit different and a little bit more in the direction you want to be, it just makes such a big difference if you can commit to keep doing that.
Beautiful. And because we're so new into this year, really, for you and the mastermind, and we're at the beginning of this transformation for you and this evolution, a week from this recording, you'll be a free bird,
I know.
having your own business and continuing on the path. So if you had to wave a wand and say by the end of December or beginning of January next year, because we're going to follow you, you'll be this is the before and we'll do the after towards the end of the year. Let's talk about where do you see yourself? What would you like to have happen? What would you like to manifest? Describe what that looks like or feels like for you in December or January.
So my like ideal would be that I am starting to see. So I'm going to get certified for craniosacral therapy. Assuming those things aren't canceled. And so by the end of the year, early next year, I'd like to be teaching a class and having some patients of my own for craniosacral therapy. So either hopefully babies, but mamas too, or anybody, I guess. But I'd like to focus on infants, but so that I'm taking my own clients by that point would really be my ideal. I went to a chiropractor appointment recently and asked them if there was a craniosacral therapist in Kyle, which is where I live. And she said, no, there's not. And I told her that I'm taking a course for that and then I'm getting certified in that. And she was like, huh, okay. And then I told her about the tummy time method training that I'm doing and some of these other things that I'm doing. And she said, you know, by sometime next year, we're going to be in a bigger office and maybe you can practice out of our office. And I was like, I had this feeling of like, oh my God, this is really happening. So that's sort of my goal now is to be working in hopefully her office or a office and seeing my own clients.
Love it. We're going to keep tabs on you. So for those that are listening that may be in your area or know people in your area, why don't you talk about the area that you're serving, the services that you're currently providing, the services you're probably going to be providing in the next 6 months, and a way to contact you.
Yeah, so I live in Kyle, which is pretty much smack dab between San Antonio and Austin. So I serve both more like northern San Antonio and South Austin and anything in between. I'm a doula. So I work with OBs and midwives and I do home births and I do birth photography for that as well. And then in the next, 6 months, I will be offering tummy time method training, which is it's kind of what it sounds like. It's teaching kids or teaching parents how to play in tummy time with their children. It's more than just laying them on their belly. So I'll be teaching courses for that probably late summer. And then in the fall, I'll be taking cranial sacral therapy classes. And so I will be actually needing people for my certification. You have to have like a certain number of hours that you log, for certification. So I will be needing people to practice on. So it would be amazing if I could get I think you have to have like 60 people. So if there's anybody that would be interested in that, I'm at Doulajandra on Facebook and on Instagram. So facebook.com/Doulajandra, DOULAJANDRA, and then at Doulajandra on Instagram. And all of my information is there. But yeah, so if you have any mamas that are pregnant or all this staying at home indoors right now might make you pregnant in 9 months, contact me, anyone in the Austin or San Antonio or anything in between area.
And as we continue through and Alejandra gets a website, I'll also put that link in the show notes as well. So make sure to check the show notes because there may be updates on her contact information if you're listening to this months or years after it's been recorded. So definitely want to check her out. And what would be really great for me too, Alejandra, if you could just speak to quickly you're the first person to come on the show who is in both the Inner Circle membership and the Inner Circle mastermind. And I just would love to have you share your feedback. I haven't even asked for this, so I don't know what she's going to say. This has not been planned, but I just thought off the cuff, why don't you tell the people out there your experience so far?
Yeah, I mean, it's been good. The mastermind, they're really separate experiences. So the mastermind has been for, I don't know, there's maybe 12 or 15 of us that are working on our own business. And so it's been really good to get together with other people that, we're not all pursuing the same type of business, but we all have the same kind of problems. And there's a lot of cohesion around someone is having this problem, they're talking about it, and you just get a lot of really good ideas listening to other people. I do a lot of like, once I don't have a job anymore, I'm going to look into this thing that they're talking about, and support that we have for each other. So that's been really good. And then the Inner Circle membership it's sort of like that 30-day manifestation group, but even it's just all the time. And so there's a lot, I feel like people are starting to get to know each other. Like I always know like Fabrizio, like there's certain people that you can kind of start keeping tabs on each other. And I don't know, I feel like we're starting to become like a really close knit. I mean, we're already a community, but it's like we're getting, I feel like, a little bit more closer knit. And you can kind of open up in a way that you wouldn't maybe feel necessarily comfortable doing in like a regular Facebook group or something like that. And we're all just super supportive, and it's people that are all working on the same things, and we have advice and support for each other. And so I really enjoy it. And there's a lot of live videos that JJ does, and then we have like the calls, not just like the Facebook Live, but then we have like the calls. So I think it's a really great opportunity to get to know the community in a different way than just the 30-day manifestation group.
And what about the podcasts? Because I do a separate podcast just for the Inner Circle members.
I love those podcasts. Actually, where's the next one? Especially the walking through. So I don't know. I guess we haven't really decided what you're doing with the book club, but there was talk about the book club and kind of breaking down what was really helpful for me for the Gay Hendricks book. So you kind of like took a couple sections and would have a podcast about just that, which was really, really helpful to sort of break it down in a different way. And there's just some really good content that it's super actionable, it feels like to me. And so, yeah, I really appreciate that content. I'm really looking forward to if we do the more books and stuff like that. And then
we are.
Okay, awesome.
we're doing the Gifts of Imperfection right now, and we're about ready to start that. I needed to, part of the Inner Circle membership, which is a constant, you can join anytime, you can quit anytime. It's $9.99 a month. There's a 7-day free trial, and there's a once a month group coaching. Although with what's going on in the world right now, I threw in another one for us to come together as a community and do some healing together, and grounding and cleansing and clearing and boundary setting of our energy fields. And so doing all that kind of stuff is, another bonus that you get as being a part of the group. But I wanted to take a book because people did enjoy me working through with Doug the Big Leap before I interviewed Gay Hendricks, and I felt that was really effective, and other people got a lot out of that. So I took the next step and thought, well, let's do a book club within this group. And so we are now taking a book. I don't know if it's going to be every 30 or 60 days, but the book we're focused on right now at the time of this recording is The Gifts of Imperfection by Brene Brown. And so there will be at least 2 to 4 podcast episodes on that book, as well as some discussion in our group coaching calls. So you're the first person to come on who's part of the both groups. And I thought, let the people know you're not me. I didn't ask you to rehearse anything or say anything specific. So you didn't even know you were going to be asked.
I did not.
Right. And I just wanted, and you're a really very good active participant in both. And I appreciate that very much, because the success of any group really is to have people who are actually participating, and not necessarily in all of the posts or all of like we're doing the fasting mimicking diet in there. And so that, people don't have to do it. It's just something that you can be held accountable for within the group, which I think has been helpful to support the few people who have been doing it every time. So I appreciate your support in that. And any last words for inspiration? This show is first going to go on health and wealth, and then it's going to spread everywhere. But in thinking about this momentum and the trust and the not knowing and the lack of control and the following your bliss, if you will, and all the different things, if there was any kind of advice you'd want to give someone out there who was you a year ago, what would be impactful, do you think, for them to hear right now?
So a year ago, I was really unhappy. And I think if I could have told myself sooner than just my aha moment of that I was kind of creating the situation for myself, and told myself to look at, instead of kept focusing on the things that were making me unhappy, started to think about what would it take to be happy, and move towards that direction. Because that's really what I had to do with that aha moment of realizing I'm creating this mess that I'm in. What if I tried to create something else? And then letting go of, but I don't know how. And what if I do it wrong? And what if I let my family down? Or what if I, all of the what ifs that are negative that come from fear of not knowing, and letting go of, I don't really know what I'm doing, but I know that if I just trust that it's something that I want to be doing, it's going to work out, because it doesn't make sense for it not to. Honestly, I don't know if that's a great answer, but it really just doesn't make sense if it's not to. If it's what you're supposed to be doing, then and you trust in that, you really trust in it. And that's what I had to do. And I let go of so much of the fear, and I sort of just walked forward, and it it presented itself to me, and it keeps presenting itself to me. So yeah, I don't know how helpful that is, but
No,
that
that's
was my
very
story.
helpful. No, well, again, everyone hears something different and hears what they need to hear when they're ready to hear it. And I can't speak to your experience because it's yours. And sometimes all it takes is for someone to hear that they feel like you're where they are right now. Like where you were a year ago is where they are right now. There are a lot of people who were somewhat interested in the mastermind and then didn't do it. And there are some who were perfectly primed to do it and who needed it desperately, but they let their upper limit and their fear get the best of them. And that's okay. It wasn't the right time. And so the goal obviously of the show when people don't come to a live event or join one of the groups is still to give inspiration and education and awarenesses to some of these habits and patterns that do block us from getting to where you are now, which is, 180 degrees different than where you were a year ago. But it takes you as the person also believing and trusting in something other than your limitations and all the things that get in the way. And so I think that the helpful advice is that you knew you were unhappy, you knew you were angry, you knew it wasn't going well, and you knew you dreaded it. And those are really big red flags for that most people know when they don't like what they're doing.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Well, and being able to see that for what it really is, and that it was coming from not outside things, it was really coming from me. I think that took a little bit of time for me. And I think that's why it took me such a long time to make the switch, even though, like I said, my husband kept pushing me for a really long time, is that I kept thinking it wasn't me. It was just my boss is a jerk, or, whatever. And it took me a while to figure out, like, no, this is really my unhappiness. And I have to be the one to do something about it. No one else is going to fix this problem for me. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, this is your before picture. We're going to be doing your after picture. Where is she now by the end of the year? And we'll see what has happened and transpired for you within this mastermind and your business. You're reinventing yourself in a way. I mean, not that this was where you were supposed to be going, but you weren't willing to step into it yet. And again, God bless that Leo moon you have, because it was like, look, I am tired of being I'm tired of not being the leading role in my life. Like, right. Like I'm tired of like my gifts and talents not being what I'm leading with. And I feel like I'm watching my life go by instead of I'm actually actively in it in a big way that means something to me. Right.
No, absolutely. Couldn't have said it better, actually.
Good. Okay, great. Well, again, check out Alejandra. Check the show notes for all her links to social media and her website that is coming.
Yes.
And if you're interested also in joining us in the Inner Circle membership, the mastermind is not open. It will not be open until probably later this year, around October, November of 2020 for the 2021 group. But for right now, you can join the Inner Circle membership, get to know Alejandra and everybody else, and get really a lot more food for thought and action steps for you in your life and your business. Alejandra, thank you so much for being with me today and for sharing your story.
Thank you. Thank you so much.